Here's your host, Daren Wendell.
What's up, you fish freaks? Welcome to episode number 73 of the KFO show, Kayak Fishing Obsessed, brought to you by myself, the Wendell Fishing YouTube channel, guys. I consider really you my number one sponsor. And so thank you guys so much for listening in. If you haven't been over to the Wendell Fishing channel, over 1,500 videos. I do daily shorts, daily community posts, bi-weekly podcasts, typically a weekly video, sometimes two. Over 10.5 million views, strong and growing. So thank you all who are part of that. If you're not on YouTube, however, you're on Facebook. I got a Kayak Fishing Freaks page. We are probably a week away from hitting 20,000 members. So pretty excited about that. Love to see you over there. And the latest and greatest here is we finished up the Knucklehead 4-month tournament. The main event is happening in 2 weeks. I'll be traveling down to Lake Gunnersville and facing off against Team Fluke Master, Team Chad Hoover, Team all kinds of other people who will be taking second, third, fourth, and fifth place because I'm not traveling 10 hours for second place, folks. And so I believe we have the team to do it. I got Seth Taylor from Florida, Jack McRoberts, who was the clutch angler last year, who pulled in the 19 for the win in the last 20 minutes of the tournament. And also got another team member, Tammy Sanchez, who was on my team last year, who won it. So look forward to, in a couple weeks, giving you guys an update on how that goes. But remember, this is an interactive show for those listening in live. And I would like to bring on my guest now, Andrew Hayes from the Tackle Talk podcast. My man, welcome to the show.
Up? Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you again.
I'm having you because I had you on about a year ago, and you talked about the only 5 fishing rods anyone needs, really. And you broke it down, and I loved it. I'll be completely honest with you. And so I thought you brought the juice. There are not many people. So I have a truck. I don't like put a million stickers on my truck. I put just a few. I have 3. And one of those stickers is a Tackle Talk podcast sticker. And so, yeah, right. So I have a lot of real estate, but there was one podcast I listened to that you did a while back. It was on Fishing Line. You did it like a bracket. Yeah. And I just geeked out over it. I was on a drive somewhere for work, and I'm getting ready to do another travel session. So I'll be definitely putting you in the queue. But yeah, what have you been up to? It's been a full year. We saw each other.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year. But yeah, what's been going on?
Same old, man. You know how it is. Just trying to balance everything. And every year it seems to get harder and harder. But we're doing it. It's okay. We're doing good. Yeah. Trying to find time to fish is now the hardest thing in the world. Like between work, family, the show, everything. Like they don't tell you that the more things you get involved in, the less time you have to do like the one thing that we just always want to do, which is fish.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo. He was telling me in the
sneaking out at like night and in the morning and being like, yeah, I got to run some errands. And you have to run errands. Why is there a kayak in the back of your truck? Like, I just haven't taken it out since yesterday.
Just gonna hang out with some of my friends, taking them for a nice ride. I tell you, the majority of the fishing I get in during summer is before work.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's great because that's the only time you want to do it anyways, like real early in the morning or late at night. Otherwise, the rest of the day is usually pretty miserable, even if you get the whole day to fish.
Right. No, I'm with you. I'm up. It's still dark outside. I have my headlamp on, and I'm on the water when the sun's coming up. And man, not only is it great just because of that, but you usually typically have the whole lake or body of water to yourself. Yeah. There might only be a couple other boats. And if they're out there on the regular, like there's one guy that I see almost every day. Some old man. He's like 70 years old, and he's out there, and we chat every day and tell each other fish stories. It's great. It's a lot of fun. But nonetheless, if you want an uncrowded spot where there's not 17 people in your spot and you're like, oh, I'll roll back that in a half hour when maybe it's free. Man, fishing before work is the juice. But
you should see like anybody that drives around downtown Dayton in the summer, like you'll probably see a little guy out at the river in like dress pants and a, button down shirt and dress shoes on out there, like, at the edge of the water, or even I've got pictures of me like in the water with my dress shoes, like,
yeah,
basically waiting.
Before.
I got waiting in my dress clothes. Like if it's after work, dude, it's on.
There's a retention pond. Sometimes when I'm out for work for a week, I will luckily find hotels, and I'll pick the hotels based off if there's like a lake or retention pond within walking distance. It's next level addiction.
That's
folks.
Big brain stuff. Yeah.
Oh
Reviews, I don't care. Continental breakfast, I don't care. What's the
no,
closest body of fishable water?
close. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And man, sometimes those are some honey holes.
Oh,
But
yeah.
tonight, guys, we are going to be talking about fall bass fishing and what you can do to pick up some big bass, especially here in October. So, just so you know, we both live in the same state. So, if you're from Ohio, around the surrounding areas, a lot of what we'll be talking about is what works around here, at least what works for us. But, man, I want to talk about a bunch of myths that kind of surround fall bass fishing. So, we'll touch base there. But let's first get this started. Right? One, I was trying to find this. This is unrelated. I was trying to find this. What are you up to and listens when it comes to the Tackle Talk podcast? Because last time I talked to you was over a mill.
Yeah, we are like 4.6
Yeah.
million, I think, right now. That's
Down.
just downloads of
Calm
like
down. That's
it's
sick.
silly.
That is
It's
sick.
just silly for just
Yeah.
me sitting in a spare bedroom talking to myself once a week about fish.
I love it. Congratulations. I tip my hat
Thanks,
to you.
man.
It didn't
It is
happen
cool.
overnight. It's 5 years in the making. So this
Yeah.
didn't happen overnight. Yeah.
No.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. All right, let's head into some fall bass fishing stuff. You just did a recent podcast. I didn't have time to listen to it. So let's chat a bit right now. You talked about what are three
Yeah.
baits that you're downsizing in the fall, because everything you hear everywhere, every video, size down, size down, size down, right? And you have
Yep.
to you just typically have a hatch that just happens. So the reason you want to size down, because a lot of these smaller bait, they're smaller, and that's what the bass are used to nailing. But
Yep.
I have a tendency also to size up, so we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But I believe you talked about, from your thumbnail, three baits that you do size down. So walk us through what goes in your mind when someone says that.
Yeah. So I'll never forget. I never really thought about this too much until it was one of the guests we had on. I can't remember. And this was like early on. So it might have been like, I think it was Wheeler maybe, where he was talking about, because he's a Midwest guy too. I mean, he's
Yeah.
from Indiana. So right next door, fishing kind of similar water. And he was like, dude, the big thing in the fall, and this was one of the first time I heard people break it down and it made sense to me. And again, this is years ago, where he's like, small bait is key in the fall. He's like, if you're on a lake that has a shad hatch, those shad are getting to that, 2.5, 3.5 inch length. And that's what these fish are like chasing around in the ball, all fall long. So he's like, you match that. And so that was like the first time that it started to click. And then since then, what's been probably 2, 3, maybe 4 years from this point, it's like I've really tried to take that into account. Now, the one thing that's interesting is that's for certain lakes, and for certain lakes that makes sense. For other ones, the shad growth can be all over the place.
All over the
So
board.
when you're talking about these lakes where you're upsizing or something, it might just make sense for that lake. I was talking on last week's episode that like there is a lake 10 minutes from my house I can drive to right now, and the
Mhm.
average shad size is probably 6 to 10 inches.
Yeah.
Huge shad,
You got
overgrown shad, because
gizzard shad.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the bass population sucks. And so at that lake, there's not a whole lot to keep the shad in check. And so the shad just overrun the lake. And we'll have shad kills where you'll walk the shore of the lake and there will just be bass-sized shad
Yes.
all over the place. And so that lake, yeah, they don't have the giant, schools of 2 to 3 inch that are the primary forage. I mean, those fish over there, they're getting their, whatever they can get their mouth on. So it's like
Right.
they're eating 6, 7, 8, 9 inch shad too. But for a lot of lakes that have a healthy, predator population stuff, you are looking at that 3, maybe 3.5 inch length that you're trying to imitate this time of year. So that takes you
I feel
down to
bad
like,
for you.
Yeah.
Because you said
Why's
10
that?
minutes. Yeah, you got terrible bath population. That's why the gizzard hatches. I feel
Yeah,
bad for
that's
you.
what-
It's one of your
welcome. Yeah.
closest lakes.
Welcome to
Dayton.
Dayton, Ohio.
We were talking in the green room, folks. That I live up here in Northeast Ohio, and he was just ripping off like well-known lakes for bass fishing. Oh, you're by
Yeah.
Mosquito and Portage Lakes and Nemesilla, and he was just going down the line. I was like, Erie's like an hour away from me, and so people literally. I have a smorgasbord of some of the best bass fisheries in Ohio, all within an hour drive.
Yeah.
And
I've got actual lakes that you put a boat on. I bet I've got 3 within an hour.
oh,
Maybe. Like,
ouch.
there's no good lakes around here. There's Caesars Creek around here. There's the little like Eastwood Lake that's right by Dayton. That's what I'm talking about. It's just got giant shad in it, and the bass population sucks. So if anybody wants to go there tomorrow, go for it. Knock yourself
steal
out.
my spot, please.
Yeah, please. But there's really not a whole lot. Like then you're gonna drive an hour, 15 minutes to go to Deer Creek, and Deer Creek Lake, like 4 pounds wins a Tuesday nighter there. Like it's terrible there. It's the Dead Sea. You've got Rocky Fork, which is probably an hour and a half away. That's probably the best one within driving distance of here. But dude, lake wise, it sucks down here.
So that's why you use smallmouth fish primarily.
Exactly. It's just out of necessity. It's like, oh, you want to actually have a semi decent day, you better, tromp in a creek or something and go catch smallmouth because the lake fishing sucks.
This is funny. I took 2 pictures of it because I had your photo is you with a fairly large smallmouth bass for this. And I had 2 comments. And this one's from Mr. Christ Turley. He said, wonder what he usually catches if he isn't even smiling. You were smiling at that photo. You have like a personal best of everybody looking at it. And you were like, meh. Or you were just mesmerized because you're just kind of staring at it.
I was in
shock. What was happening
probably
in that moment? Yeah, in shock.
Yeah.
All right, it was in shock. That answers that one. Then you probably get this a lot. Someone said, dude looks like a young Matt Damon.
If I had $1, dude,
for
every time.
Yeah.
I've got, and I don't, what's weird is like, I don't see it. I've tried to see it, but I've probably got it 500 times in my life. I mean, it is all the time. I get, you look like a young Matt Damon. And I look at pictures of Matt Damon. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't know. We're both kind of like generic white guys. I don't know.
I totally see it. And someone said Goodwill Hunting bass. And then someone said, I actually met him. He looks more like Matt Damon in person. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it a lot.
You got 502.
I wish I had Matt Damon's money. I'd take that.
Come on. Then you wouldn't have to actually go fishing with your life. Yeah. Where were we? Sizing down.
Yeah,
we went on a rabbit trail.
This is how this is going to go.
Oh, you're talking about lakes. All right. This is what I was going to say. Yeah, right. So I have a couple lakes around here, and I can think of one in particular that has small shad, tiny right now. Tiny. So here in the next month, they'll grow about twice that size. But I also have lakes around here where I didn't realize it, but I came across, I'm like, what is that? See something shining in the water. So I went and rolled over there. It was like a 12-inch gizzard shad.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, oh, I know where I'm bringing my 10-inch mag draft. And so that's why they slam them around here. That's why I always talk about the mag draft, because that bad boy looks like a big old gizzard shad. And so just, you got to key on that stuff. Now I found that gizzard shad, that was months ago, but that the signal to me, they're in here. So now where I typically wouldn't bring my mag draft because this lake is fairly shallow, I'm going to be bringing it now. So it's just interesting tips and stuff that you pick up along the way and keeping those mental notes back there. Anyways, back to you. Sizing down. So you had that from Wheeler. What else you got?
Yeah. So, but what you say about like bringing, a big mag draft or a big glide or something to like any lake, the thing that I've learned there too is those fish will come out. I've thrown a 6-7 inch glide in a place that I know there's not much, if any, forage that's that size that you're talking about, right? Where everything's small and those fish will still come out and clobber it. I mean, they eat themselves. They eat other bass. They eat all kinds of stuff. So it's like if they see something that looks vulnerable, they don't really care what species we as humans think it's trying to imitate. They see a bait fish profile or a fish profile of some sort that they think that they can take. They're going to go take a swipe at it. And that's the beautiful part about like a mag draft or big glides or something. It's all trebles. All you got to do is get a fish to swipe at it. That's it. It doesn't have to get the whole thing in its mouth. Like when you're talking about those big paddle tails that like the Zaldane one he came out with, it's got the actual hook in the top of it, where it's like that fish has to choke that thing to eat it. It's got to physically get the whole thing in its mouth.
Right.
Yeah. For anything that's got trebles, you just got to piss it off enough for it to go up and take a swing at it. That's it. And you can catch that fish. Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is like just because smaller shad or whatever are not naturally there does not mean that you can't go there and throw that big bait, because you will still get bit on it. But if you're trying to be as natural as possible, something, more on like that 2.5 inch is probably going to be it versus.
So what are you showing for those listening in?
Yeah, so this is a local company. It's actually a little south of you too. Big Joshy Swim Baits. Big Ohio staple down here. I mean, everybody throws big joshies. But this is a 2.75 inch, just a gizzard shad, and then you've got something like 7 inch Chad shad. So very different. If I can figure out how to do that, yeah,
Yeah.
very different sizes, obviously, of your profile. But at the end of the day, in the fall, both are going to work. It's just a matter of time and place. The other thing, if we're talking about like downsizing, is that you can downsize almost any technique that you want. So a good example is like this is a little spinnerbait made by a company called Battle Baits, and this spinnerbait is tiny.
Mm.
I mean, it's probably 2.75, maybe 3 with blade, like all included. But the thing with that is like you're not sacrificing with a bait like this. I mean, this still probably has, I don't know, I'm guessing that's a 3/8 probably that I've got in my hand right now. You're not sacrificing weight, you're not sacrificing quality, you're just making your profile more compact. And so you're playing off of those smaller, more natural fish. The other thing that you can do is if you want to have a smaller profile, but you still want to have, I don't know how to word this, I guess. If you want the actual bait part to look small and look like you're matching the natural shad, but you want something to kind of draw in maybe bigger fish, look at a chandelier rig.
There it
Go
is.
for like an A rig or something. Now, what I'm holding in my hand is not legal to throw in
Oh,
Ohio.
legal. Yeah, you got 2 extra
Yeah,
hooks on there.
we gotta cut 2 of those off
You need a
before we
couple
actually go out and
dummies.
throw it. But but that's a good example too. It's like people think of the Alabama rig as a winter bait. The Alabama rig smokes in the fall.
Mm.
Absolutely
Makes
smokes in the
sense.
fall.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. You can
they're
locate.
chasing shad balls.
That's all they're doing. If
Yeah,
you can find them, which electronics help. That's for dang sure. I know around here I'll find them suspended in 25 feet, and they'll be
yep,
15 feet down there, and I see them all over my side scan and my down scan. And I
yeah.
would never have been able to see them. I went years without a fish finder or having one
Mhm.
that actually showed me anything worth seeing down below. So,
Yeah.
man, that's awesome. So, Jig Masters. So
Yep.
that's one of your buddies, right? So
Yeah.
you pair those always with Big Joshy. Now I remember when I met you met you in person, you were talking about this a little bit. Walk us through what we chatted about at your booth, because you're selling the hooks for your buddy because you're like, hey, there's nothing better out there for this than this hook.
Yep. So, like, if you take out one thing in the fall, like just a minnow style bait on some sort of jig head, you can throw all day long any lake, in the Midwest, and you're totally fine. This is a Big Joshy 2.75 gizzard shad, and then on the front, this is the Jigmaster sled head. So both these are Ohio companies too, which is
Yep.
cool. Big Joshy out of Columbus, and then Jigmasters is out of like around Bowling Green, Ohio. So
Okay.
on the northwest side of the state, I guess. But if you want to look at like a hook that is just made for this type of bait, you've got a nice sled head, which this helps if it'll focus
There
there.
you go.
There you go. So since it's a sled head, this thing helps it rock not quite as much as like a ball head. So if you have a ball head and you're, swimming this thing, it's going to go like, 3 to 9 o'clock, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. With something like a sled head, it keeps it more like 10 to 2.
Stabilized.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got a lot of that weight concentrated on the bottom of the head versus a completely round ball head. So it seems to kind of shrink that range of motion just a little bit and let it more on like a slight roll / shimmy versus a full on womp 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 womp. But those are two things I love throwing in the fall. And then he makes a 3.25 in the Big Joshy too, if you want to step up your size a little bit. But
Yeah.
2.75 in the fall is my go-to for sure.
So you made a different differentiation between, a large wobble
Yeah.
and a tighter wobble. What, in your opinion, is that just something a little different? And sometimes it's just good to see something different, or is there any type of something going through your head that you're like, hey, I would want a tighter wobble versus a wider one?
Well, as water temps cool down, I want a tighter wobble. So I guess that's probably more for like end of fall. But at the end of fall, we've talked about it all the time. You go like flat-sided cranks. You've got lipless blade baits start playing because you want this type of thing versus this type of thing. And so that helps a lot too. So if you are trying to tighten up the wobble on like a boot tail, something like a sled head works a lot better, at least for me, than a traditional ball head.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
What do you have rigged up right now? Coming to the end of September, getting ready to head into October. What's rigged up?
So depending on the water that I'm on, like if I'm on the rivers right now, honestly, this is one time of year that I will lean hard on a prop bait.
Okay.
So I will go out because right now, like if you're fishing a creek or you're fishing a river or something with a lot of moving water, those fish are going up to the heavy current and they're sitting in the heavy current. And they're just feeding, or they're right off the heavy current, sitting in that little slack water on the eddy, and they're waiting for stuff to pass by, and they just go out and annihilate it. So the problem with that is like working a top water in that type of environment where the current is so fast is tough. So what I lean on with this is like the good thing about a prop bait is it floats. So you can have that buzzbait action without having to keep that buzzbait going so fast, or it's hard to do when you're coming with the current too. So like if you cast up current and you bring it down the natural way like you're supposed to, just trying to keep up with the slack to keep a buzzbait up on the water is borderline impossible sometimes if you're in really, really heavy current, where with a prop bait, it floats. So it keeps it up there. So really what I like to do is make that kind of like, 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock cast where I'm down current, and you kind of catacorner it so that you're still coming down current, but you're coming across a little bit too. So it's not coming straight down, and you get that resistance of the cross current as well. So it props that thing and a lot easier. So I lean on a prop bait hard this time of year when they actually get up in that really nasty stuff and in the fast current. If I'm on like a lake, then I typically go more toward your like popper profiles because I want to milk those spots. So I'm going around that shallow cover or right over that shallow cover on that big flat that those fish are moving up on. Another big bait that you're going to want to throw if you're like, say you're in 6-7 foot and you're going over a brush pile, a big spook just draws those fish up. If you need that extra drawing power to get that fish to come up out of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 feet and really shoot up, a walking spook, for some reason, I don't know if it's the pattern. I think they probably look at it and they see that walking back and forth and back and forth, and it's predictable enough that they're just down there and they know like trajectory wise where to go at it. Where with a popper, a little bit more erratic. With a buzz bait, it might be going too fast and they're like, I'm not going to get up there in time for that.
It's a lot of energy. It's going to be gone by the time I have another thought about it.
Yep. It's kind of a happy medium.
Now, any particular sizes? You brought up your Zara spook. You brought up your that wasn't river to sea. What was that? Chapo?
The popper, or no, this was the Chapo. So this is a Berkeley one.
Got it.
But any of them.
What are those sizes on this?
Yeah, so the Berkeley is so I like, now the only problem is I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here for a second, but the Chapo is a 90. I think a 90 size whopper plopper, Chapo, Guggen, whatever you throw is fine. I don't care. I'm not here to try and sell you a brand on something, but whatever you throw with that, I love the 90 size because it is just the perfect profile that I want out of it. The only problem is I think a 90 size is the worst moving out of all Chapo, whopper plopper sizes in the world, because it is the one that has the most likeliness to spin on itself. So if you've ever thrown, a whopper plopper or a Chapo or whatever, that 90 size is the one that you're just like, why are you death rolling on me? I just took you out of the package. I've caught like 2 fish on you. There's no excuse. Why are you death rolling? It's just something about that size that has some issues. So, one thing you can do to help with that, keep your rod tip up. I know it's annoying to have to do, and with a prop bait, you want to be able to just kind of come down and sort of crank like normal. But yeah, if you keep that rod tip up, then it keeps that pressure point of that line pointed up, and it keeps the nose up of that bait, and you won't have a tendency to roll as much. It's just annoying. I hate working a prop bait with my rod sticking straight up, but sometimes you just have to do it.
See, I like the 75s, the fatter bodies on them. I like how those plop through.
They definitely are friendlier to not roll on you too. The 75s are than the 90s.
Yeah. Whiter Rhino says, getting a call over here from my fishing buddies. Don't you know I have a show tonight? Come on.
Popular dude.
Yeah, right. Whiter Rhino 74 says, yep, they roll like crazy. Got a question here from Ryan Fuller. Question: how far do you walk your spooks? Like 10 feet, 10 inches side to side, or do you jerk rod like 2-inch side to side? What action is
you're talking like I think he's talking about the rod, right? Like 10 inches side to side would be a long way to walk a spook, I think. I mean, if it's going 10 inches, like 10 inches this way, 10 inches this way, that's more like glide bait type really range of motion. So really what I'm doing is I'm getting a cadence where It feels natural to me, but also like as soon as it stops that, I don't know, I'm not a physicist, so I don't know the word here, but like inertia or whatever of wanting to move to the left, you capitalize on that to the right, to the left, to the right. I don't let it like set, because if you let it set too long too, then sometimes it'll start to veer a little bit. You want this really consistent back and forth. So usually for me, it's probably like it's probably around that cadence, somewhere around there, and I'm working a spook.
Got it. Whiter Rhino says, I just got the spin and image. Haven't got to try it yet. See if it rolls or not. I'm not even sure what he's talking about here.
I think that might be the Headden that came out with. They came out with like a spitting image and a spinning image. Basically, like, you know, Headden. I think it was Headden. Is it Headden or Norman or one of those like older brands came out with some more new shapes of baits. So they kind of like had, you know, a whopper plopper kind of knockoff or whatever you want to call it, right? But their version of like a prop bait that came out. I think that's what that is.
Okay, right on. So what else do you have hooked up right now?
Right now, so another thing I do have a glide bait on that I'll take with me almost anywhere that I go, just in case. Like you said, right? As much as we're going to talk about, downsizing, you're also going to have those situations where you just want to like try and be able to draw something out of cover. This is going to do it better than anything else I've ever found. A big glide bait will get those big fish that are just hunkered down in that lay down or whatever to come out and at least take a look at what's going on versus, you know, just back there and avoiding your Ned rig for the 15th cast or whatever it is.
That's the beauty of the Chad, especially if you have FFS, you're able to see how that thing has drawing power. Now they don't always commit, right?
No,
but you at least pull them out there. Be like, I'll see you in about 25 minutes, my friend. With something else to put right down there in front of your face.
We've got some hilarious stories of these. So my buddy Ryan that I fish with a whole lot, I think this might have been close to last fall, actually. So it's either late summer, real early fall. We were fishing an area we fish a lot. And I threw a big glide up against this giant tree that was down under a bridge that we had fished 100 times, right? And we've never caught anything giant out of it. You catch fish out of it, but nothing giant. And we're in the kayaks, and I'm working a giant glide bait parallel to this log. And I see what looks like a carp come out of the log and come toward my kayak and is just following and nosing on that glide bait as I'm working it back. And I was like, and then as it gets closer, it's a smallmouth. And it is a smallmouth that is just, it has no sense of urgency whatsoever. It is just meandering behind this thing like, that's new. Never seen that before. I'm going to come out of this log and take a look at that. And it got boat side, and I killed it, and I tried to like get it to commit. Nothing. Right. And it just turned around lazily and swam right back to that log jam. And I was like, Ryan, cast over here. Like, I just saw the biggest smallmouth I've seen in 2 years come out of this thing. He casts a spinnerbait in there, and this is to, you know, the point that you were talking about a second ago. He casts a follow-up bait in there, and that fish, it just got it just enough fired up and curious and, you know, mobile out of there. It smoked his spinnerbait first cast, and he sets the hook. This fish jumps out of the water like Free Willy style, spits the spinnerbait, and just ends up in the log jam. Yeah.
It touched the bottom of your hand.
Yeah. It was terrible. Yeah.
It slows down and everything.
It was so bad. But I was like, but to your point, right, where it's like, okay, you have this fish show itself and you get it a little bit fired up or a little bit mobile or at least not lazy and gets out of that brush pile. And then you're like, okay, this fish is now, I think anyway, at least a little bit more catchable. You've got it interest peaked. You've got it a little bit more active than it was before. Even if you don't catch it on that glide bait.
I can't stop thinking of Free Willy right now and the slow motion of that kid with his hand up in the air.
High-fiving a smallmouth.
The 5 minutes as he touched the belly as the smallmouth comes over. I can't.
It looked like Free Willy, dude. It was huge. Such a big fish. Sorry. Oh, and the fact that he hooked it too. I mean, it came out of the water. He saw the whole thing. You're like, oh my God.
I got to recover. So who gets credit for that bass? That becomes the question of the day, right?
Oh, he does. Yeah. I didn't hook it.
You wouldn't even know it's. You told him where to cast. It's like partially, you brought him out, right? And you told him where to cast. You basically caught the fish for him.
Yeah, not quite. As many fish as he's probably done that for me. I owe him a couple.
All right. Usually, you don't get the opportunity to do it in the matter of a second. Now, obviously, you try to do the follow-up bait, but a lot of times you're like, okay, I know you're there, and I'll be back probably 2 or 3 times a day to see if
it's kind of the
you're
beauty
doing
of having a buddy with you too, where you can kind of tag team something where, if you're by yourself, then yeah, you got to back out of there without spooking it. You got to give it time to reset. And I was like, dude,
just go
cast right
Yeah.
there. Like, I'm
He's
not
already
going to move.
thinking,
I'm not going to touch a motor. I'm not going to touch a paddle. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to disturb anything. Just throw right there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Got me all jacked up.
One that got away.
Smallmouth fishing. I was just editing some videos early today when I was in Pennsylvania, smallmouth fishing. Now, they weren't free willies, but I went to this one hole. I think my brother and I caught around 50 smallmouth in like an hour and a half. They were just loaded.
Jeez.
Absolutely loaded. Now, they weren't anything over 15 inches, but nonetheless, it's still fun.
But 50 fish in a row is, I don't care what size they are.
And it's the first time he's ever caught a smallmouth before. And I literally,
you ruined
first cast. I'm like, hey, cast right over there where that water's coming around the eddy and around this big old blah, blah, blah. And he throws it in within a fraction of a second. Smallmouth nails it. And he just starts laughing. He's like, this is a smallmouth? Like, yeah, that's a freaking smallmouth. Like, throw it again. And we had the best weekend. My gosh.
He's never going to be able to like replicate that ever
No,
again. You just completely ruined him with the first time smallmouth fishing. We're like, it's super easy. You just throw over there and in half a second, you've got a fish on.
Just throw a freaking wacky worm where I tell you to in the spot that's taken me years to dial in. And then just catch a hand over fish.
The only time you can do that any time of year is during the spawn. You literally can't just go catch 1,000 smallmouth.
Oh my gosh. So good. So good. Anything else you got hooked up? Or what are you getting ready to tie on that you haven't tied on yet going into October?
Yeah. So in October, I'll probably like one of the things, I don't know if it's necessarily because of the switch from September to October, but one of the things that I will start to break out more and more and more is that little micro buzz from Jig Masters, the real little like 3-inch. I got one right here, I think. Again, talk about small, just quintessential fall baits. Oh, yeah. That is a 3-inch micro buzz bait. Got like 45 thou wire on it, real thick wire. It's got a screw lock on it, that sort of altered sled head to make sure that it tries to stay a little bit more vertical than normal. And it helps it rise up a little bit so that it doesn't take as fast a speed to keep this bait up, because I wanted this bait to be able to crawl real easy. And then you put like a 3-inch grub on the back or a little Strike King Baby Rage Menace or something on the back of this thing and just kind of like wake it on top of the water. And it's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, they're sweet. So I'll start breaking that out more and more as the weather gets a little bit cooler. I'll lean on the Alabama rig even more, obviously, once the weather starts to turn. There'll be a time where we're in like November where you won't be able to get an A rig out of my hand. So that'll become more and more of a player as it gets colder, but I will start to break it out like right now, like mid-September all the way through, end of winter, honestly.
Yeah, well, right before we can't get our kayaks out there because it's literally icing over.
Yeah.
So here's a question. I'm having World's Worth Fishing on, and he's a massive bait maker. Over 100,000 people following him, which is pretty awesome. But we were having this conversation like, hey, this is what I want to talk about. How realistic is too realistic? So we were talking about a minute ago, right? Okay, you want to match the hatch, kind of you want to size, trying to match the size if you can see them. And so I look forward to having that conversation with him about how realistic is too realistic. Because at the end of the day, there's also stupid fuzzy dice baits out there, right?
Yep.
Those will smash it. And then I'm fishing the Emo Kamushi Q bomb or whatever it's called. It's just a round bait with a bunch of tentacles sticking out the side. And then a poop bait, the same thing. It looks like a Yamatanuki with it looks like a hairy Yamatanuki. At the end of the day, sometimes if it's just a piece of protein and it happens to be conveniently in front of their face, they're gonna smash it. So for you, how much weight do you put into the realism of your baits?
I think it depends, and that's a really wimpy answer, but I'm gonna explain it at least.
Yeah, do
so like in a lot of situations, I think the ultra realistic stuff. You look at like a HD, printed swim baits or something. Like you see like the Berkeley stuff and stuff that's like HD on the side and it's laser printed and it looks as natural as like a shad can. At the end of the day, I don't think that matters like 90% of the time. Like I think at the end of the day, it's the shape, the profile, and right time, right place. Like I think as long as it doesn't look so ungodly ridiculous that they're like, that is not food. I am not going to eat that, which we've seen that's pretty tough to do with bass. As long as its size requirements are small enough, you can shape it with almost anything and it'll go after it. Now,
A hairy Yamanuki.
Yeah.
I'll bring up a photo of this stupid thing while you
it
continue to talk.
is silly. But then like the little, like you said, poop baits and all kinds of weird stuff that are out there that you're just like, it's the right size, it's in the right place, they're gonna eat it.
I love it. How much? Oh my gosh! Here, I got it. I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. I know those of you are listening in are probably like, "What are you guys talking about right now?" I don't want a free chance to spin and save. Fish USA.
Oh, I know what website you're on. Everybody knows what website you're on.
Everybody knows. All right, let's share my screen here. So this is
That's where I get my Alabama rigs, by the way.
Oh, do you? Nice.
Same website. Yeah.
All right. So this is the. Let me remove this banner.
Oh my God. Oh, you are on a different website than I thought you were, actually.
What'd you think? Where did you think I was?
I thought you were on Temu.
Oh no! Oh, that thing's ridiculous. Like
you got to spin 12 times.
Spin. You got to spin to leave this page. You got to spin.
Never mind. Yes.
Anyways, this is the G-Crack Emo Kamushi soft bait. Look how dumb this thing looks.
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous?
It is crazy.
So that looks like nothing.
Yeah, it looks like a little underwater bug, honestly, is what it looks like. You know what's really cool? So someone told me this. One of the biology people we had on one time was talking about this. The shapes of things, like you want to talk about natural things that might just appeal to a fish's, I don't even know what sense, right? Just that it knows that that's something that biologically it relates to. Have you ever looked at like the shapes of microorganisms? The shapes, like if you would look at them under a microscope, a lot of them look like the shapes of our creature baits today.
Okay.
It's really trippy. Go and look up, like after this is over, or people listening, go and look up like pond microorganisms and look at the weird shapes that these things have. They look like sweet beavers or, I don't know, any sort of creature bait, trench hogs, like stuff like that, right? It's all of these just weird, symmetrical, alien type looking baits under a microscope or shapes under a microscope, and they have a lot of resemblance to a lot of our creature baits in fishing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's some sort of like thing in their mind where they're like, that's something that I biologically know that is natural. I don't know. It tripped me out. I had a guy talk about this one time where he's like, dude, look at them all up. It's crazy.
I mean, it's a reach, but then again, we don't know, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
Why
does it matter to the fish? No, but there's some credence to it being a naturally occurring in nature shape.
I'm game for the conversation. I love that stuff.
Yeah,
I just did a video on the colors that bass actually see. Right.
Yeah.
And it was
with the cones and rods
doing the
they
research.
have,
Yeah.
Reds and greens.
They got two rods in their eyes. So I'll explain it real fast if you didn't watch the video. If you want to go into deeper, head over there. And there's actually, I put the filter in there if you want to run your own lures through there. But essentially at the end of the day, what we're looking at is when humans can only see, we see with three cones, right? Red, blue, green. And we have a myriad of colors because of it. However, if we're missing the blue cone, it's called something called tritanopia. And so the best way to and that's the same amount of cones that bass have, essentially, is they're missing the blue as well. So they have a much limited spectrum of color. And so the best way, I guess, for us to kind of imagine what a bass can see is to find a filter that removes the blue cone. And then you can actually see what bass see, which is usually much more muted across the board, right? And all your chartreuses turn essentially white with like a pink hue, and all of your blues turn to a muted green, and it's really fascinating. So check out this video, and it really makes you think. I was like, oh, if everybody really knew this and kind of leaned into it, lures typically catch the fishermen, right? Yeah. And so we're like, oh man. And so check this out. Use that filter. It's a lot of fun. I take a ton of different lures through and I do side by sides. What you're seeing, what the bass is actually seeing. And you're like, oh, that makes sense, because chartreuse, neon yellow, doesn't make any sense. There's not a lot of things that are neon yellow. However, there's a crap ton of things that are that white, shiny, silvery. And so it makes sense that they would smash it and people would swear by chartreuse. So anyways, go check that out. How much weight do you put into it? color of
So
lures and so forth and so on.
yeah, so the weird part you got to think about too is like, yes, there's the missing of blue cones, so they have that weird sight, but also what color naturally does underwater. So
Yeah,
there's differences there too. So you've got this
100%.
meeting of the worlds too. So we can look at like, what does it look like when, we're only seeing with two whatever they're called, cones or rods or whatever in
Yep.
the back of your eyes. But then also if you look at like just on the spectrum of, if you sink 12 different colors underwater every foot or 2 foot or 3 foot, they all change. So you have to like, it is weird to think about because you have to mesh those two together, which in our brains is tough to do. That's why one of my favorite colors that I have for anything is black. Just give me all black. Give me an all black Ned rig. Give me an all black jackhammer chatterbait. Give me an all black
That's
popper. I
sleeper
want
color.
contrast because I think contrast matters more than the actual physical color of the lure.
Yeah. And let's take it even to the next level, right? All these different color spectrums as they go through the water, some will travel further, right,
Yeah.
than others. So your yellows, your reds, all those brighter colors, they are going to break up faster than your greens, your violets, and your
Mm-hmm.
blues. They're going to go much deeper because of the wavelength. And that's why your oceans are blue, folks. That's because
Mm-hmm.
that's why this color is going the furthest. And so there's so much to take in consideration there. And of course, the deeper you go, the more muted your colors get, but they all mute at a different
Yeah.
light. But typically, I
That's why
mean,
green pumpkin works.
come on.
It's
When you put
just
it
a
through the filter,
muted
it's
dark color.
it's a muted green pumpkin black fleck all day.
Yeah. That's all it
All
is.
day. Oh, that was fun. I
Now, I
had a
will say one of
blast.
my favorite things to do with like a natural green pumpkin or whatever, for instance, I think every green pumpkin jig should have like half green pumpkin strands and half black strands. Because again, you get just that little itty bitty bit of contrast. I don't care what the actual two colors are, but if you look at a crawl has dark and light spots on it. It's got like the ribbing on it. The belly can look different than the back of it. Like there usually is some sort of two-tone to it. I don't care what the colors are, if it's bright red and dark red, if it's brown and orange or whatever it is, right? Depending on your craws and your seasons and stuff. But I just wish that every green pumpkin jig or every green pumpkin anything had a little bit, like you said, of that black fleck in it or a black streak or just something to give that bait contrast too. I just wish that everything would do that.
Yeah. All right, so let's hop into the next section that we have here. So I've been looking up a bunch of falsities, myths that people kind of throw out there during the fall. And it's interesting because I've kind of heard these in one form or fashion. I get a ton of comments, tens of thousands, I think, of comments on YouTube since I've started 3 years ago. A lot. I don't know if tens of thousands, but thousands for sure. And I hear these things and responses that people say all the time because everyone loves to rebuttal everything you say on YouTube. Not a problem. And so a lot of things you kind of hear is I retire my topwater lures in the fall. I know, right?
What?
I hear it though. Size down. Once the summer,
What?
everyone kind of equates summer with frog fishing, and then it gets colder. They kind of retire those things and start going to your spinner baits and everything that looks like a bait fish. So obviously you debunked that one. We have.
I guess I should back up. It depends on where in the country you're at. Because
True.
that's the thing that I forget sometimes where I'm like, dude, fall is great. And there's some dude in Florida like, fall sucks. What are you talking about? September, if you're in Alabama, September's the worst month of the year, probably, right? Or one of them. So that's the other thing too, is like I have my Midwest hat on all the time.
All the
Where
time.
that's all I think about. I don't
Yeah.
care about you in California or Florida or Texas or whatever. I got my Midwest hat on and fall is king. But yeah, I guess if you're in like, the dog days of whatever down in Florida or Texas or somewhere, maybe you don't break out the top water. I don't know. But around here, if that dude is anywhere even close to the Midwest, he's just wrong.
Yeah. No, this is interesting. So I'm going to read off a bunch of things that I read, and these are from articles that have been published. And I'm going to have kind of a choose your own adventure. Feel free to talk about any of these. Right. So we have, and I know these are blanket statements, but bass are essentially they go inactive during the fall and cold weather. Only deep waters are productive. Only shallow waters are productive. That one's interesting, so we can talk about that in a minute as well. Fall bass are just hard to locate. You have to go shallow, like I said. You have to match the hatch. And so there's just a few myths. Now, obviously, you and I have been doing this a long time, but there might have been a time in your fishing early on where you're like, oh, I heard this and believed it for a moment until I learned more about it. So let's talk about fall fishing can be tough.
Certain days, I think it can be tough. There are going to be days. Fall is the one time of year around here where you can have the most magical day of the year, though. Like if everything lines up, there is nothing better in Ohio. I will put, in pre-spawn, post-spawn, whatever. I don't care. Spring, set it aside. Fall, you can have the best day of the year in late September through October, and then probably early November. Like this time right now, you can just go out and have those magical days. Now, any season can have tough days, right? If you have a day that comes out and it's bluebird skies, there's not a bit of wind, it's hot for some reason, like unseasonably hot. Yeah, you can have a terrible day. You can have a terrible day any time of year. But if you're looking at playing your odds over like a whole month or whatever, fall is one of the best times by far.
Yeah, you could pick up some absolute donkeys as they're feeding up. That's why
it's those ones are hard because like someone I can't argue with you if you had a bad day. Like, yeah, you could have a bad day. Fishing could have been tough that day. But overall, as like an average, I don't think you're going to find many people around here that are going to say like fall is the toughest time of year.
I feel like a lot of people actually hang up their rods after Labor Day, right?
Deer
Like,
season. Well, your fair weather fishermen definitely do.
That's true. But I also feel like a lot of people will do that because we had the fall. I'm coming to the end of the fall transition literally, I was on a pattern. I knew they were. I was slamming them. And then the first couple of weeks in September, I was still hitting them, but not at the rate of which I was. And they just weren't in the same places and they're moving all around, right? I don't think people understand, but bass can move. Like fall transition doesn't necessarily happen like over a long period of time. It can. But a lot of times, I believe these bass will have to move kind of overnight, right? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a couple days for sure.
Yeah, they were there, and now they're not. They're gone. They've moved, and moved. And so I feel like people will have this moment. I feel like this moment, the fall transition, will actually kill. They're like, they're to stop biting. I'll see you guys in the spring. Probably fair weather, but nonetheless, they kind of hang it up, not realizing this. Like you said, this can actually be one of the most magical times. Right. If you're willing to be a little cold, if you're willing to get out there, one, you're going to have the lake to yourself. It's not, outside of a duck blind every freaking 10 feet. Those scared the crap out of me before. I'm out there fishing in the morning, just peaceful as all. Boom! A big old shotgun, like right around the corner.
Like, dude,
crap out of me.
You get peppered. You're like, come on, guys.
I can hear the shot falling all around the lake because there's nothing. And there's and of course, they're built not to be seen. So I'm just fishing the bank and I come around the corner and there's like 4 dudes just sitting there like, really? Yeah. I was like, I can't see you. I'm not looking for you. Oh my gosh. Everywhere.
So the one thing that might be interesting though, if you talk about like someone that thinks fall fishing is hard, like you said, if they think it's hard because you can't do the same exact thing for a month and a half, then yes, I'll agree with you. You have to adapt. Like fall, everything changes so fast. You talked about it. You can have a day where that transition stops. They could be over here one day. They could be doing something completely different a week later. You do have to adapt to it. So it's not like the summer where you can just go out and throw a big Carolina rig or deep crank this same deep point for 3 months in a row or whatever it is. In the fall, everything's so fluid. They're following the bait. The bait follow the zooplankton. The zooplankton follow the wind, basically. Like everything moves so fast. So yeah, I guess if you're looking for, to be able to go out and do the exact same thing and replicate it for 2 months at a time, then yeah, you're not going to have a good time in the fall. But if you know how to adapt and kind of bob and weave with, the weather and the situations that are presented in front of you, then you're going to have a great time in the fall. I guess it just depends on if that angler is, I don't know what the word is, adaptive or not, has the ability to adapt.
I found that anglers are relatively unadaptive.
Most of the time, yeah. Which you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's the fun of angling, going out and trying to figure out what they're doing that day.
Yeah, but this is where I think a lot of anglers falter. And I'm talking like weekend warriors, which is the majority of the probably people listening in. Is what they'll do is they'll in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm gonna try to be adaptive, right? I teach an unconfidence lure kind of strategy on my channel. So at least have one unconfidence lure. You don't even know thing and force yourself. And I was just I'm selling my mower right now. This is a side story. And this guy comes up yesterday And he's telling me how. I was like, oh, what do you usually fish? And he sees my fishing wall. I got kayaks hanging from my ceiling. And they're all on the floor. They're everywhere. So we end up having like a 30-minute conversation about fishing. Love it. My wife's like, where you been? It's like, sorry, the guy coming to pick up the mower, he was an angler. it was all over at that point. But he tells me, it's like, oh, what do you typically fish? And we're walking through the things. He's like, I'll be honest with you, I just fish the wacky worm. I was like, I get it. It consistently produces. And he's like, what I'll do is I'll try another bait for like 6 casts. I won't catch anything, and I'll go right back to the wacky worm, right? And they never get the chance. And he's like, I know buddies have told me I just got to leave that thing at home. I got to take 3 baits I'm unconfident with, and that's the only thing I have, so I'm forced to use it. And that's really how you start breaking that cycle. But I think a lot of anglers are like, oh, I've been using the rooster tail. I've been using the thing I caught my first bass on. I've consistently caught bass on it. That is fun to me, right? And they never adapt. And they kind of go the same spots and fish the same way. How does someone break out of that?
Okay, so you tell me this, right? If do you think that most anglers, because I think they do, I think most anglers hit a point where they've caught fish and just the act of catching another 13-inch bass is not enough anymore. And that's when you start branching out to new lures and techniques because it is that next challenge. Like for me, now, like I don't want to just go out. I would rather go out and catch 5 fish on 5 different really cool techniques than catch 10 fish on a wacky rig every day, right? Because I like to go out, and that's the fun part, is like catching them on different things. That fish is now so much more memorable because I caught it on X versus being my 1,875th Ned rig fish. So like that kind of stuff. I think that's part of the fun of the activity is switching up your lures and techniques and, catching a fish on a glide bait versus catching a fish on a jerk bait versus catching a fish on a fluke versus whatever. Those are totally different experiences.
No, I would agree for some. I would agree that for others, they're like, hey, I poll people all the time. Like, how was, and one of the questions I ask every month is rate your month. And I get a lot of comments in the midst of that. So I have 1 star all the way up to 5 stars. And a lot of people tell me like, oh, work has just been killing me. I haven't been able to get out. I think I went out once last month. I haven't been able to get out this month. And sometimes this is like, okay, they want to grow and they want to catch bigger fish and they want to do all the things that you talked about. And that probably hypothetically sounds fun to them. However, I get to fish 1 time this month, and it's either I try to learn a new lure. It's like when you go ski, right? I can try to go snowboarding and I'm going to fall 70,000 times. It's not going to be super enjoyable. Or I can get desperate. And I get desperate. Been out in the water. You go a few hours. You're like, okay, the big lures for the big fish or all my strategies to catch a big one have kind of fall. I just want to touch and a slimy green friend right now. And so I'm going to go back. And so
with a rooster tail or with a wacky rig or something, I'm going to catch a fish.
Confidence lure and where I know I can catch them. So it depends on time and it depends where you're at and depends on how you set goals for yourself. It depends on a lot. It really does. But, I believe it's more fun. Just a couple weeks ago, I'm fishing a swim jig. Been catching donkeys on the swim jig this year. Dialing it in. I love jig fishing. I used to hate it. I wasn't very good at it. Dialed it in last year. Super dialed it in this year. I think I have 20 bass, largemouth, over 20 inches. 15 of them are in the swim jig. Dang. Stupid year for Ohio. Those down south are like, yeah, that sounds like a July for me. Nonetheless,
that's a whole lifetime in Southern Ohio, by the way.
Yeah, but I have the fisheries around here. That's for sure. The crazy thing is I've fished these for years and years, my entire life, and not realizing that, they're actually in there. It's just I needed to change up my techniques and really need to do a lot more study to figure out where they're at and how to pattern them. That's been a real big jump for me. Nonetheless, I get caught up on this line. I'm close to the shore. A lot of people fish it. And I pull up all this braid. I was like, oh, crap. I'm cutting it off. And I was like pulling in this. And I pulled in this Berkeley War Pig, 3/4 ounce. I'm like, oh, this thing's heavy. And so I threw it on my jig rod. Like 3 casts in, caught it 19. I was like, dang, this thing's awesome. I'm like falling in love with this thing. So I'm like, I don't know, just that way. And that act of finding a lure, if you've ever done this, you know how much fun it is.
Oh, yeah.
You find a lure and you're like, oh, what can I do with this thing? And then you actually catch a bass with it. That is so rewarding.
Yeah.
And I remember getting home some mornings after fishing. I was like, oh, how'd you do? I was like, I didn't catch a lot of fish today, but I caught 5 different fish on 5 different lures.
Yep.
And I'm like, that is the big win, like personally. Now I can't throw my 14-incher up on, I mean, I could on and start flashing it around like, hey, check out my 14-inch. But the win for me was an internal win, right? Wasn't an external win for everyone to see. So I get it. All right, we got a lot of
I think it
comments
just comes
over
with
here.
time.
It does. And the more you have time to invest in it, the more you're probably going to venture out because you're like,
There's
oh,
layers to fishing for sure. And it's like
100%.
sometimes we forget how many people are in that first layer. Like you've been to ICAST and stuff, right? Like that's
No, I haven't. I haven't been to ICAST. No.
Okay. That kind of stuff is like you walk in this room and there's a billion things in here, and you realize that like we're in the top little 1% of people that really care about bass fishing. The majority of people in the country that fish and like to fish are your ugly stick on the weekend with a split shot rig. Like we are such a small minor percent. So to your point, you're getting these comments from people. It's like they could be in the majority of the country of people that are just like, dude, like you said, I get to go out once every month. I want to go catch some fish. And I'm stuck in my silo where you're like, no, I'm a nut job that wants to go fishing, 30 times a month. And, I'm worried about the 10-pound braid versus the 12-pound braid and, this and kind of stuff. It's like, it's different activities almost at some time.
Yeah. And I remember the time when I was there. I love that time just like I live this time. But yeah, we taking a deep dive. We got freaking channels and we treat it like a part-time job. And it's because we love it. Right.
Yeah. Caught the sickness.
Love geeking out. We've already made, which is already interesting. We already made the big yardage, like, big changes. Now we're down to like the tweaking where I'll do it like jig modifications, right? Color flash, put some eyes in there, trim the skirts, and it's just the deep dark rabbit hole of the things that probably don't matter, but we think do, and it just helps us build more confidence with it. Billy Holbrook says, caught less fish this year, but I've caught better quality and size than years past. That's a big win. I like
we barely got any water down here to fish at this point. Like, dude, we're dry.
Did you guys get the rain this past last night?
Got like a sprinkle. That was it. Dude, it hasn't rained here in like a month and a half.
It's been all summer here. I mean, I loved it for this reason. I didn't have to mow my lawn like all summer.
Oh yeah, mine's dead. Straight up dead.
Toasted. Yeah.
Sahara Desert
Which
out
really
there.
means I just get to fish more. So that's why I love it. I'm looking through these comments here. Oh, let me see. This one's from Ryan Fuller. I'm in love with the trimmer headed jigs.
Yeah, probably jigs.
Fluke on it. Great action. The trimmer is a suction cup behind the jig head. Love that action. Right.
Yeah, it's basically like a scrounger. It's like a scrounger head is what he's talking about. You ever seen a scrounger? It's got like almost like a not plastic, like a rubber lip behind a big ball head, and it's kind of I don't know how to explain it. You're gonna put it on like a jerky J or something. You'll put a big minnow style bait on the back of this thing, and it does do the big like boom, boom, boom wobble. Just look up scrounger head.
Okay, we'll do. So a couple more questions. We're coming to the end of our time here. But typically right now I'm kind of in a slump around here. So they're not biting as they used to. They'll still bite, but I have to really work and pick at them. So I got to kind of repattern them. They moved on me over the past few weeks. I'll pick them up here and there, but not like I used to. And so right now the water temperatures around me they're dropping quick, right? We can get some cold nights. Some mornings I get up and fish and it's 50 degrees. Like, holy crap. And I'll see swings in the water temperature go 4 or 5 degrees in a week.
Yeah.
So it's wild. I know, right? And so I'm getting close because I feel like once I'm in the high 70s, 76, 74. And when these things getting into the lower 70s, like 72 and the upper 60s, oh, watch out.
Yeah. When it starts with a 6, it's on.
Oh, it's on. And that's when you're breaking out your umbrella rig, your chandelier rig. Yep. And so don't count it out. If you're like, oh man, it's going to be cold in the mornings. It might be some cold days. But but do not take your retired fishing poles that you said that you were going to wait until next year, right? And I'm just going to go deer hunting and go out there and pick up and have the time of your life. I feel like a lot of people give up too early. So anyways, what in your opinion are fish doing right now, and what will they be doing all the way through fall? So help people understand, and it might infer how they fish, where they fish, what they fish with.
Yeah. The real simple answer is they're eating. So, however your body of water sets up, because that could be totally different, right? So, if I'm in a river, I'm going to where the easiest buffet of fish are going to be for these fish to eat. So, like if they're smallmouth, river smallmouth, they are going to try and find the place where they can sit and have the biggest mass of bait coming by them while sitting in one or, a small area. So they're going up to dams. If they're, the next natural cutoff in that river system, they're going to sit there, they're going to find that little slack water, that eddy or something, or they're going to set up in like around some big laydown or something off a big bend where there's a big current seam that comes right through the middle of it, somewhere where they just have access to a bunch of bait. Now, if you're in a traditional state park lake or something, start to find like your creek arms and stuff that run into that state park lake. You hear that all the time. Like find the big coves, find the big creeks, and just go up them, because those bait fish will push back there. The shad, obviously, then the bass follow. So you're finding that kind of stuff too. This isn't the time of year where I'm really like out in the middle of the lake chasing around stuff with electronics. For the most part, I am like, pushing up shallow. I'm trying to find feeder creeks or something like that. The other thing, you don't want to really fish deep anyway, because that thermocline and that lake starts to turn over and those fish are going to be above that thermocline. So you're not really going to want to go fish the deepest part of your lake. You have to save that for like, a completely different time of year.
Yeah, that was July and August
Yeah,
for me.
that's
I was
like
out there just picking them up.
middle of the lake, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
deep crank, big rock points, big 1 ounce football jigs, and have yourself a time. This is not the time you want to go out there and do that.
Yeah, this
You're
is
going to spend a
perfect
lot of
for
time and catch 0 fish.
There you go. This is the great time. If you like to beat up the banks, this is
Yeah.
continue to do that. Like you said, find the shallow areas, keep your eyes open, because a lot of times, especially it's harder when it's windy, because a lot of times you can't see it.
Yeah.
But when it's not windy, when you're paddling or when you're pedaling your motor, a lot of times I have a tendency to look down at my phone, like if I'm traveling one point to the next.
Yeah.
But look up and look out 50, 60, 70 yards. You'll see disturbances on the top of the water. You'll see bait fish. You might not hear it, but you can see it at a distance. And I have just motor. I see something 30 yards away. I'll motor down, go over there, throw it, boom, nail it, stop. Just wait for another disturbance. Boom, 40 yards away. I'll motor over there, and they're still hitting. They're still feeding. They've stunned them. They're coming around. There's groups of them. And I've done that all day long. And picked them up. So keep your eye out for those bait fish, the disturbances, the top water hits, and just chase them around all day. You're gonna have the time of your life.
You'll even see sometimes where like the bait fish aren't breaking the surface of the water at all, but if you get up close enough, you can see the shimmer of them, where they're almost doing the same thing they do up the top, but they're busting like this far below the surface. This happened to me last weekend. I saw this real weird thing happening, like you're talking about, 40, 50 yards away. I was like, what is going on over there? And I motor over there, and these like tiny little, probably, 1.5 inch, 2 inch bait fish, millions of them are over there. And they're just, I think they were getting blown up on from below, but they weren't actually coming up and breaking the surface. It was just like, you saw the shimmer. It looked like confetti. Yeah, it was like confetti in the water, but they were all doing it all at once. So I cast in there and started catching fish. It's like that kind of stuff. You're looking for visual
Something's
cues.
eating them. If they're moving like that and shining you, something's down there. I feel like that's a missed opportunity a lot of times. So be on the lookout, far in the distance, anything that looks weird. Paddle, motor, pedal drive on over there, and you'll pick them up. All right, little fun game I like to play sometimes at the end is overrated, underrated. Sometimes it has nothing to do with fishing. Sometimes it does. And so I go back and forth. And so this is where I love to get interaction from those of you listening in live. I'll read your comments as well. So I want to answer along with us. But Andrew, underrated, overrated, Chat GPT.
I've never used it.
Oh, you've never used it?
I've never used it. I don't know how to use it. I don't know where it's at. I've heard people talk about it. I don't know how to get it.
It's
Do I
changed
download? Is it an app? What
my
is it?
life. You just go and just type in ChatGPT in your browser bar.
For what? What are you using it for?
What you want to know what I use it for? This is gonna blow your mind. So I use it at work all the time, right? I'm constantly writing people, and I'm not really great grammatically. I'm not a writer. I don't pretend to be. And so I will literally just prompt it after I write something and be like, make this sound professional. And I change up a couple
What?
things and I send out the email. Um,
What?
yeah, it's stupid. Like you can write grants with it. Like, hey, take this information and write me a 4-page grant. It'll write me a 4-page grant. I'll make it 3-page. It'll make
I'm
it
gonna have it
3-page.
write my episodes.
You can
Give me write me an hour episode about whatever.
I've done this. I use
I
it to
can
get
do that.
ideas sometimes.
Huh.
I'll be like, give me 20 title ideas for YouTube. And I prompt what I want it to be about. Like, give me 15 viral titles. And I go through, I'll pick one. I kind of like that one. Give me 15 more.
Huh.
It's stupid. It writes all of my descriptions for my YouTube videos. Like, write me a 3-sentence intro based off of this script. Done. I just change it. It just saves me so much freaking time. Like, the robots are going to take over the world. I love it. All right, we got some comments here.
Whoa.
And you haven't used it before.
Never used it.
Wow.
I've heard of it, obviously, but I had no idea it did all that kind of stuff. I knew kids were like using it in school to cheat and stuff. That was about it.
100%. 100%. I'm using it as a professional to kind of cheat in a way, not actually cheat. I'm not plagiarizing anything, but all right, we got a lot of people over here. Charlie's Anders Fishing, overrated, underrated. And I thought he was going to answer that. Bass Raft said overrated. Diggs, never used ChatGPT either. Overrated. A lot of overrated. Underrated in the professional world. Overrated in fishing. Interesting. Okay.
Huh.
Ryan, tell me why you say it's overrated in fishing. Like, where have you seen? That's fascinating to me. Charlie Anders Fishing says you can also input a script and get it to make it sound like a pirate. That's what I use it for the most. It can write papers 10 times better and faster than I can.
What?
Can we just go back to put in a script and get it to make it sound like a pirate? That would be amazing. All the puns that you can possibly think of. I can't believe you haven't used ChatGPT.
No. Nope.
All right. This is it. Sometimes I'll go through and I'm like, I have to put keywords into a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Give me keywords based off of this script. Under 500 characters. Go. Done. Yeah, I know, right?
It's scary world. I'm not ready for this yet. Take me back.
Next one. Overrated, underrated. The Yak Attack Black Pack.
Overrated.
Keep talking.
Overrated. This is coming from someone that uses no sort of crate or anything. I just throw everything in a giant pile behind me in my kayak, and it's a complete cluster. So zero organization whatsoever in my kayak.
Which is ironic, because if you wanted one tomorrow, you could get one for free.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the other thing. I don't take anything free. Like, that's the weird part about what I do. I don't take free stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's always been my thing. It's like I don't take free stuff because I feel like I'm going to be inclined to, or expected to, or however you want to word it, to speak highly of it. Like, my whole thing is like I like unbiased stuff. So it's like I pay for all my gear. My Hobie Outback that I'm rocking right now on the river, I paid $3,000 for it like everybody else does. Like all that kind of stuff. My motor, everything. Yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? Everybody gets all that stuff for free and sent to them and stuff. I don't do that. So that's always like the blessing and the curse of the type of show that I started, is like I have to buy all my stuff. But no, I don't think, what are they, like $150 or something? They're expensive,
they range,
right?
for like 140, 180 based off the size.
Yeah. No, if you look at my kayak, I just take everything and just throw it in the back behind my seat, and it's just a giant cluster. And then any baits that I'm using, there's a little, almost like a hatch right by your feet on the Hobie Outbacks. I just throw everything in there. It's all in one giant pile. Everything's tangled together and whatever. Like, I have zero organization.
All right. So you're like, I could buy one. Here's the thing. If you set that rule for yourself, you essentially is like, hey, I can buy all these things if I wanted to. Now, if I want to, right?
Yeah,
So you're
and I
saying
don't want to pay
crate.
$150 for a milk crate.
How about a milk crate? At least get a milk crate. Come
I
on,
could
they're
do a milk crate.
$5.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do a milk crate. I'm not paying,
I'm gonna send you a
$150
milk
for a
crate.
piece of plastic milk crate. I'm not doing that.
You just put everything just in the back of your
Yeah.
kayak. I love it. My gosh. All right, we got overrated, underrated. Overrated, price is overrated. Okay, that's an interesting distinction. Too expensive. Ryan Fuller said if you have 5 million downloads on a podcast, you can afford it. That's big facts.
You don't get paid per download, my man.
You do
Wish you
have some
did.
sponsors, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let me see what else we got. Want to get the track pad. It's expensive, but a great product. Great, expensive. Christmas present. I love it. Milk crate. Awesome. Love it. All right, let's go to another underrated, overrated. I love all of the feedback we're getting here. Underrated, overrated, minimalism. There's kind of this trend, tiny house nation, tiny boat nation, kind of minimalist kind of thread I see a lot, especially with YouTube is going on. And so what's your thoughts on that? Even in fishing, there's a
I'll
minimalist.
say underrated. Like, I'm a super simple dude. Like, if in a perfect world, I would be the guy that would live in like some camper somewhere or something and like call it a day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm such a simpleton where it's like I just want to have, a place to be, a place to sleep, and I just want to go out and do what I want to do the rest of the time and call it a day. So no, I would be totally fine with that. I think a little house or like one of those little tiny houses or off the grid something would be awesome. That'd be like right up my alley for sure.
No, I'm there with you. There's some I was like, I could if I could go back and turn back time and in the time I wasn't married, not worked and just lived a minimalist life and then started a YouTube channel and just focused on that for a decade or two, I'd go back and I'd definitely do that.
Yep.
That sounds amazing.
Don't we just wish we knew
What
back
we
then what we know
didn't
now? Yeah.
know. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, I have family to support and I love it and I'm going to do that instead.
Yeah.
Which interesting.
But then like sometimes like design stuff, like minimalist, like logos and stuff have just gone, I think maybe a little too far where like everything in the design world now is all like how simple and like no detail at all can we make it, or like buildings and stuff, like remember back in the day, like if you look at like old Greek buildings or whatever, like they are beautiful.
Right.
They're awesome. The architecture, everything. Now it's like how cheap can we make a
Box.
4-walled box and shove a bunch of cubicles in it or something. It's like we have lost a little bit of that, which I'm kind of sad about.
We've lost an art, definitely
Yeah.
the art, and I hear you. Oh yeah, there's some funny. This guy says overrated. Give me all the stuff. Hey, you do you. Underrated. I love it. Underrated minimalism. This is good. So funny. All right. It's just people are so different. Underrated, overrated. Fishing in the rain.
Underrated. 100% underrated.
Heck yeah.
Dude, fishing in the rain is the best.
All right.
You have, because dude, you got low pressure, it's cloudy, like it's gonna be an objectively good day of fishing, right? As long as you can tough it out, it's gonna be all right. Now, the thing that kind of is weird sometimes, I don't know how fish react to like too much stimulation of like the surface. So like if you are fishing shallow, then like yeah, I've seen days where like your top water bite kind of shuts off in the rain and stuff because there's just now it's not that subtle popper over in the corner that they saw from 40 feet away and they're going toward. Now it's like, dude, everything down them, all the water is doing this.
Make out anything. Right.
Yeah. So I don't know how that works, like overstimulating the fish or anything, but no, you've got low or dropping pressure. You've got the clouds. Sometimes you got wind. Like it's going to be a good day.
Yeah. And you got the entire lake to yourself because
you don't have the yahoos out. There's no pleasure boater trying to kill you in the middle of the lake.
No. Every spot, if it's a Saturday, every spot's going to be yours for as long as you want it. Oh my gosh. I will tough it out as long as it's not lightning or thunderstorming. I don't care how hard it is raining. I got some shorts coming out where it is literally just pouring rain. I'm out there having the time of my life. I mean, pouring. The hardest rain I had this entire summer, and I'm out there. The waves are kicking up. My GoPro is basically like cascading rain over the top of it. Oh my gosh. I love I love
best.
fishing in the rain. I think the bite picks up, like you said. All the conditions are there for the bite to just pick up, and you just slam them. So I got a lot of underrated. Rain sucks on a kayak, but the hits are there, so underrated. Fishing in the snow, underrated. What? Who? Come on, low life.
Dude, fishing in the snow is kind of sweet.
I fished in the snow. I don't usually catch a whole lot, but I fished in the snow before.
But it is a time of year where they're super predictable. It's like you just find the deep hole and you just drag a net or something.
I love it. Steve Hack said, underrated if you're prepared, overrated if you forgot your rain gear.
But eventually you get to that point where you're just soaked and it doesn't matter anyway, so you're good. Like the first 5 or 10 minutes are going to suck, but as soon as you're just completely drenched, it doesn't matter. Let it keep raining.
So what do you have like a particular rain gear that you absolutely like swear by? Or do you just like you're not wearing rain gear at all?
So this is another thing, dude. I'm straight up redneck McGee, dude. I've got like if it's gonna rain, I'm wearing shorts because I just know that I'm gonna get wet. And I have this like $8 jacket that I bought at Walmart that like keeps me if you're in the rain where it's just that annoying, almost like not mist, but it's just light rain where it's like I don't want to be out here just getting like barely pelted by stuff. Then you put that on, it's okay. If it's pouring, dude, it just comes off and we're just gonna wear it. Like just get soaked. I don't own any rain gear other than that little $8 jacket from Walmart. I promise you.
Oh my gosh. You are redneck.
Yeah.
You're redneck McGee. All right. Final question. Not underrated, overrated, but personal question for you. Who's your favorite content creator out there? I love hearing from content creators because your bar is a lot higher typically.
Who's my favorite content creator out there?
Who do you find? Even it might be like accidental, but you found yourself recently being like, "Oh, this keeps showing up in my feed only because I keep watching it." And I didn't realize it until the moment Daren asked me this question.
Is it fishing? You're talking fishing or anything?
Fishing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You know, this is gonna be a weird answer too, but Pig Patrol, Josh from Pig Patrol, guilty pleasure. I love watching because it takes you back to like you talk about simpler times, going fishing some little spillway and live bait fishing and catching big catfish or something, and that's like that dude's happy as can be. Or his ice fishing videos are my favorite thing on the planet. This dude goes out with live scope in the ice and catches catfish. That's what he's targeting. He's targeting like 50-pound, whatever shovel heads through the ice, and it's awesome.
Barely get him through the hole.
Definitely is just his own dude. Other than that, trying to think who else.
If you're listening in, let us know who your favorite content creator is. And why.
Because the other part is like I don't really watch much fishing YouTube anymore. I used to watch a bunch of it, and now I don't have time. I'm doing the show when I have free time to do that, and it's like I just don't have time to watch much stuff anymore. But John Barzacchini is still good. He's still putting out good stuff. Yeah. I mean, a lot of those people have either quit posting altogether or they're not even close to what they used to be. Tactical Bassing's still great. Matt and Tim still do a good job out there. Yeah, I don't know. Mikey Balls. I mean, I like watching Mikey Balls videos. Matt Streichel, when he puts out stuff, I like Matt's stuff. I like just that sort of like no nonsense fishing content. Like it's not the weird clickbaity stuff. It's like I just want to go watch dudes that know what they're doing and smash fish.
You don't like watching fishing from a pink unicorn with the Walmart challenge of $100?
Yeah. I spent 17 cents at Walmart and here's what I caught. Like, I can't do that, man. I hate it. We played roulette on my phone app to see who gets to pick each other's lures in Ollie's bargain outlet. Surprising results. Like I can't do it. I hate it, dude. It's the worst. Uncut angling. Someone said
number 4. Right,
dude, sorry. Someone what does it say? Ioborn crew said uncut angling. Great answer. Uncut angling. He doesn't put out many videos anymore, but Aaron over at Uncut Angling, awesome stuff.
Oh, hit the wrong one. Uncut. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, dude. I'll send you a video after this.
It'll show up everywhere. But he hasn't. What happened? Where'd he go?
He just doesn't post, but every once in a while he will drop one from the clouds, and it's like just a shot heard around the fishing world, because he does a lot of like touching on the popular topics without himself saying it. Like he did a whole video on forward facing sonar that was called like my results from a walleye fishing tournament or something. And it's video of him fishing this walleye tournament. And then every 5 or 10 minutes, he'll just put in 10 minutes of content of just picked out clips from the best pros and people in the fishing industry contradicting themselves about forward facing sonar or, gimmicks or things like, I mean, it's genius stuff. It's like 10,000 level IQ stuff where he doesn't say a word. He just pulls the right clips to show how full of crap everybody is. And then he'll go right back like 10 minutes later to showing you a catch in his walleye tournament. And then he'll do the same thing like 10 minutes later. It's so good.
Like
I can't
Easter.
explain it.
When in this video is he going to school us all?
Or he'll just get really mad about something and be like, deep fishing crappie does not cause, delayed mortality or something. And here's an hour and a half video dropped from the clouds of 3 months of filming and research. And I put together this just awesome video. And here you go. Like, it's good stuff.
Wow. All right. Well, let's read through some of these. We got 618 Fishing. It's great. See Money. I like that. Bass Fishing HQ. Tyler. A lot of podcasts, including Tackle Talk. I love Tackle Talk. I had Tyler on the show.
Tyler's a good dude.
He is a good dude. Love that. I met him at the same place I met you, which is the Columbus Expo.
Oh, the Expo. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Early Fluke Master was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Scott, Roland Martin, insane amount of info, great contact. Zona, Gravy
That was a
Davy.
good one.
I don't think I've heard that one.
Who's Gravy Davy?
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me go on a deep dive.
Here we go. Gravy
daily dog vlogs. Let me know. Sorry. Hey, daily dog vlogs. Let me know who Gravy Davy is.
I think I just found an Instagram. Gravy Davy. Who's this guy?
I'm more now concerned with who's daily dog vlogs.
Daily dog vlogs.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. ND Yak Angler, of course, one of my favorites. Someone said Tactical Bassin. Most of the other channels have become repetitive or strayed from what they used to be. Yeah, and it's probably because people follow the views, right? And if you're trying to get views, there's a certain way to make videos where it's more entertainment and less informational. Informational will be more evergreen, right? It might last longer. However, it doesn't give people that shot of adrenaline they want and need from you.
That's what I fight all the time. It's like our show is like, it is not the flashy clickbaity type thing. Like, it's the stuff that's just, it's never going to be the thing to like completely take off and everybody lose their mind over, but you just hope that like the people that do listen to it like get something out of it.
Okay, yeah. Here we go. Davy Gravy fishes with AO Fishing and Fishing with Norm.
I'm not sure I know who they are either. What's it? What'd you say? AO Fishing.
AYO Fishing.
AYO Fishing.
I feel like that's a lot of the videos that we're talking about. It's a lot of the entertainment type of fishing adjacent stuff.
Oh yeah, this is straight up everything I was just making fun of.
I was saying it nicer than you just did, but yeah, everything we were just making fun of.
Yeah. I bought the cheapest Amazon lures versus the most expensive Amazon lures. Oversaturated thumbnails. Yeah, sorry. I'm off topic here. Yeah.
I want to hire that person that does the monster truck and then have them read just all
the people that are like Monster YouTube. Jams coming to town this week.
Jam. I want them to read the thumbnails and just totally just riff off of
Cops called surprising results.
Oh, it's getting late. I'm getting oh my gosh. Wow. All right. Tough Bad said I prefer to do Bob Ross style fishing. I don't even understand really what that means.
Bob Ross, like the old painter, the guy that had like the
Happy Clouds. Bob Ross. You know,
what would Bob Ross style fishing be?
I don't know. Tough Bass, you're gonna have to explain that.
What? Oh, there you go. You got
the rails, folks. Oh, the video style. Oh,
Of Bob Ross?
I mean, he is technically like the original ASMR if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
Like homie started that. Everyone I think fell in love with
Yes,
just the
it's my dream.
and just that sound. He's like it's original.
Sweet.
Do you know all of his paintings off that show? I forget what the show is called. That they're all locked up in a building. Yeah, you can't buy them because they all went into the foundation. You guys look this up. It's crazy.
There's just
And
a
I guess his
trove of
wife,
Bob Ross
well,
paintings
I mean,
somewhere.
thousands of them, and they're really hard to find one. If he did it on the show, it's in the foundation, and the foundation has them all locked up, and they're not out there hanging on people's walls. It's crazy. If you want to take a deep dive on that, it's a fascinating story. Tough Bass, I will give him, since we were laughing. He said, yeah, a lot less entertainment. Like, I think he was coming in late on the earlier comment, and so we're taking it out of context. So,
Oh,
all right, sorry. When laughing at you, I just had.
It said, "What did I start?"
I just been laughing.
Went off the rails. Tough Bass.
Laughing is.
We got Tough Bass and Daily Dog vlogs just going.
I'm gonna spend the next hour looking up Bob Ross and taking a deep dark rabbit hole dive into that, and also I'm spending the subsequent hour just watching Daily Dog vlogs. I love this. All right, we're wrapping this bad boy up. It's going off the rails. Hey, thank you so much. I love having you on. It's always a good time. And yeah, thanks. Hopefully someone listening in were like, hey, I didn't think of it that way, and I'm not going to give up and fall, and I'm going to take something that was talked about today, and hopefully you guys will get out there, catch more bass, bigger bass, put them in your kayak, put them in your boat. And yeah, at the end of the day, that's where we want. So thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for your time. I know that you have a crazy job. You got a family, new kid. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
So I look forward to having him back on, and I don't know, a few more months next year sometime. It'll be good times.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you in a couple of weeks on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. You have a good one.